A strong coastal storm system will develop this weekend and bring impacts all the way into early next week along the eastern seaboard. We got a lot to figure out about this storm. How far north will it get? Will it do sort of a loop-de-loop and sort of bring just a long period of impacts? We just got a lot to figure out. So we're going to go over all model guidance that we have. We'll compare things, show you some better case scenarios, show you some worst case scenarios and all of that. And then we'll break down other areas of the tropics, like we got Tropical Storm Jerry out here, forecast to become a hurricane here in the coming days. And we'll speak a little bit about the Caribbean. We continue to watch that area as we get deeper into the month for more tropical development. So after that, we'll go over today's weather, and then we'll wrap the video up and be done. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Make sure this is going to work, and it is. So we're good to go. So that is Tropical Storm Jerry. Honestly, it looks worse this morning than it did yesterday morning before it was even dubbed a tropical storm, but that is Jerry. And it's going to go in this general direction over the coming days. And how close will it get to, say, Bermuda? But in the shorter term, how close will it get to the Leeward Islands, which is experiencing a lot of thunderstorm activity right at this moment? But this is not because of Jerry. That'll make a close pass. As of now, I don't think this will make any kind of landfall. I think it'll move northeast of the islands here, but it's going to get close enough to warrant tropical storm watches, which is what you guys have right now. And some of these could get upgraded to some tropical storm warnings. So we'll speak on that as we go. Anything else out here? Nothing in the Caribbean, nothing in the Gulf. We're watching this disturbance here. Has a very small chance to develop into a tropical system over the next 48 hours or so, but it's running out of time as it's sucked in against land. But what's wild is this entire area right here will start to pop off over the next 48 hours, really 72 or so. But right now, completely void of any kind of convection, shower, and storm activity. But you see this action swinging down right here. This is a cold front with energy embedded into it, and this is actually going to come down and link with some energy right into here. And we have to see if we get some sort of phasing of energy, and then this could get that storm system, a deepening of lower pressure, and all of a sudden we have the potential for a powerful storm that could develop and ride up the eastern seaboard. Or does it sort of kind of get stopped by some sort of high pressure? We just got some things to figure out, but these are all the moving pieces right now out in the Atlantic. Let's move past that. The latest from the National Hurricane Center. Now, there's a question on why there isn't an area of interest right in here. And that is because this system that's going to develop, that we're about to talk about a lot, really isn't going to be truly tropical in nature, more so a hybrid sort of nor'easter. Now, it doesn't mean that it isn't going to be completely void of any kind of tropical characteristics, but for the most part, it's not going to have it. So that's why they have an issue like an area of interest. If it was going to be tropical, there would probably be like a high risk of a tropical development. There would probably be some sort of area in red right into here, but that's not the case. But we do have Jerry, 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm. We're right at this second in this area of interest that has about a 10% chance to develop sometime really in the next 48 hours or so. It's running out of time, but that is that big blow-up of convection we just showed you. Now, moving past this, let's speak a little bit about Jerry, and I know this isn't going to really perk anyone's interest just because this really isn't going to impact really anybody, it doesn't look like, except areas of the northern Leeward Islands, so we don't need to ignore you guys. But right now, that 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm, when it starts to get really close to the Leeward Islands here, it's probably going to get up to a hurricane, Category 1. Portions of the Leeward Islands are in that cone, but for the most part, almost all these areas are outside the cone. Now, you might ask, well, why do we have tropical storm watches here if they're not even in the cone? Well, remember, this is not the impact cone. You could still get impacts way over here and impacts way over here. This cone is where the center of the storm potentially can go, the actual low-level circulation, the heart and soul of the system. So I always like to reiterate that. And this is going to start to move north like most of our tropical systems have so far this season. And Bermuda is right here. You're just outside the cone, but could get as high as a Category 1 hurricane right now. That is the peak forecast intensity as of right at this second. So just wanted to show you the cone for that. Now let's go over some model guidance. We're going to show you different vantage points here as we go. We're going to start off with this look, and we're going to start off with tomorrow morning. There's Tropical Storm Jerry, most likely beginning to strengthen into a hurricane. Maybe not. Could just maintain tropical storm status tomorrow. But making its closest pass to the Leeward Islands and just the Lesser Antilles could bring just some gusty winds and brief tropical storm force conditions, 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts or higher. And then it begins to move north, and then it just sort of heads on out. And, I mean, Bermuda's way over here, and then you see our coastal low that we're about to zoom into here in a second developing here, and we'll speak on that. I'm definitely not going to ignore that. We got a whole entire section of this video speaking on that. But you know, Jerry kind of heads on out, doesn't bother anybody. And then anything else down here in the Caribbean? No. So let's take a closer look at that coastal low. This is starting off Friday evening here in the next couple days, right? Low pressure. I mean, remember when I just showed you the satellite? There was nothing going on here. Could be a totally different story in just over 48 hours where we have a ton of moisture as we will have energy beginning to get going here off the coast of the southeast. But you continue to get this going here. We start to get into Saturday morning. A lot of heavy rain and gusty winds begins to probably move somewhere along the Carolina coastline, especially North Carolina, the Outer Banks. And this is going to be producing gusty winds, heavy rainfall. How far inland does this heavy rain get? Does it make it all the way to Raleigh? Does it just kind of stay confined to the Outer Banks? It's a big question. But look how this low pressure just kind of spins around and then just kind of comes back down to the most furthest eastern point of the Outer Banks and then finally skips on out of here midway next week. But there has been some trends that is signaling this could bring more impacts further up the coast, like all the way up to the Jersey Shore, southern New England. So here's the Euro. This is getting into Sunday morning. Big storm system moving in, almost nor'easter-like. In fact, I would say it is. And this is getting into Saturday afternoon, some gusty winds, some moderate to heavy rainfall, pretty much just along the entire mid-Atlantic coastline up into southern New England. And the closer this low pressure gets, the stronger the winds. So we could get some very strong onshore winds and northerly flow once you get on this side of the low up against the Jersey Shore. I mean, the Tidewater, Delmarva coastline, Maryland, Long Island. And look how close this gets right here to, I mean, areas of the Tidewater. I mean, it looks like it's a very wacky track. And I would say the Euro is a little inconsistent with that. Some other model guidance a little bit more consistent, but still, it's still everywhere. So what about the GFS? Kind of restarting here. There's Jerry making its closest pass to the Leeward Islands. It gets north. It's a hurricane. There's a low pressure developing off the eastern seaboard. Here's Jerry. Jerry moves on away. He doesn't even bother Bermuda. Anything else down here in the Caribbean? No, not really. So let's go on and move a little bit closer to the southeast. Here it is, once again, getting to Friday evening. It looks exactly like the Euro. Big slug of heavy rain and strong winds just off the Carolina coastline as we're getting into Saturday morning. It's going to be dicey weekend in the coastal areas of the Carolinas up into Virginia. And then as we're getting into Saturday evening, strong low pressure. Look how close this thing's getting, 994. So as we're getting into, say, Sunday morning, this is bringing some nasty, if the GFS is correct. Listen, I know I've been harping on, it's not a forecast, not a forecast. One thing I am saying is, it is absolutely a forecast that we are going to get. I guess we are forecasting a strong low pressure off the eastern seaboard. It's trying to figure out who's going to get the worst of it because we're getting these weird back and forth runs, right? But there's no doubt going to be a low pressure off the eastern seaboard. Sunday morning, look at all these high-end impacts here, swinging into, the Tidewater area and just the coastal there's just the coastal areas of Virginia, southern Maryland. This will bring significant impacts. And look at this thing as it starts to move up the eastern seaboard. That is a 989 millibar low with, heavy rain, gusty winds slamming Delaware, New Jersey. Heck, even getting some nasty conditions in the southeast PA. Look at this big slug of moisture getting all the way across southern New England, gusty winds. And you get a 988 low tucked in just outside of New York City, south of Long Island, off the Jersey Shore Monday morning. Regardless if you have a lot of rainfall or not with this, very strong winds. It's equivalent to a tropical system, except it's not really tropical. And then this thing just kind of books it on out to sea and continues to be a very strong, large storm system. So it's just wild stuff, guys. and just taking kind of a large look at this. Where does this system go off the GFS? I mean, where are you going, buddy? Just finally just meanders on out. But I mean, I would say we need to watch up here in the Atlantic Canada too. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland. I mean, we're just getting some wacky runs from this. The Euro AI model, it's weaker with Jerry, brings some impacts in the northern Leeward Islands, nothing you guys can't handle. And then there's our coastal low developing. Doesn't really ever get anything going down here in the Caribbean, so we're just going to jump ahead. Coastal low impacts, the low pressure on this not quite as crazy as what the GFS and Euro is showing, but it's close enough to bring impacts. Listen, I know I keep mentioning the Outer Banks, but this could bring some. I am genuinely worried about the Outer Banks with this storm system, because there's a potential that this hangs around for a while. It doesn't just kind of sweep in and then head on out. This could kind of spin around. And I'm almost to the point where I want to say I'm shocked at the little amount of attention that this is getting from the Outer Banks, North Carolina coastline, up the eastern seaboard. It honestly blows my mind that this is not getting a lot of attention. I'm not seeing many meteorologists talk about it. I'm not seeing, people in the weather community are talking about it. I'm not seeing a lot of national weather services like in eastern North Carolina, like the Moorhead. Like I was trying to look for a graphic from them guys, and they haven't made a new graphic since October 6th, 2 days ago. It just, honestly, I'm shocked. It's not a knock on them, but it blows my mind. I don't understand. But the Euro Ensemble, yeah, I thought about not even showing this, but it does show that little bit of a signal in the Caribbean. But I'll be honest, no, if nothing ends up developing in the Caribbean, I feel flat on my face, totally wrong. I took a shot a few days ago saying I think we're going to get something going out here, and I do think we are. Model Guys is just really not reflecting that. Now, the Climate Prediction Center is doubling down on it from the 15th to the 21st. This is the week 2 and 3 outlook. Has a 40% chance of tropical development in the Western Caribbean, Southern Gulf. And it just continues to show it as we get from the 22nd to almost the 28th. I mean, almost to Halloween. I mean, we got a 40% chance of tropical development in the Western Caribbean. So it's still signaling, hey, we need to watch these areas throughout the rest of the month. So, just kind of taking a closer look at this coastal low. And this is what the Euro is showing. So you see that big slug of moisture just hitting you guys in eastern North Carolina, a little bit down to the Grand Strand. And I'm telling you, this just needs more attention. And then even though this low pressure is well off the coastline, 989, this is Monday afternoon, by the way, past this coming weekend. This is bringing some strong gusty winds, especially just offshore along the entire mid-Atlantic, southern New England coastline. Anybody. And then look how this thing kind of gets slung back closer to the coast before sort of booking it on out. I mean, I would say the Euro is one of those worst case scenarios, right? But the GFS really isn't a whole lot better. I mean, brings us up, brings heavy moisture. I mean, if this was January and we had enough cold air, this would be one heck of a blizzard. But yeah, I just kind of want to show you a closer look at both of those models. And, rainfall, it's a crazy tight gradient because of the moisture field to this is going to be really confined. There's going to be a sharp cutoff from on the western side of the storm system. So, Columbia, Charlotte, for example, might not get a drop of rain from this. Just some gusty winds, maybe a little bit of cloud cover. But, you start to get into the eastern sections of these areas, a lot of rainfall. Several inches is possible. Just the further you get to the east, the more rain. For example, like eastern sections of North Carolina and southeast VA, could get 3 to 5 inches of rain. But a lot of these rainfall totals you see up here could really increase. I could see it increasing in this area right here. So go on and be aware. This is the actual forecast right now from the Weather Prediction Center, but just because it's a forecast doesn't mean it can't change, right? So I'd watch these areas for more rainfall to potentially fall. Now listen, these are the winds, and this is gonna, so people who live in kind of around these coastal areas, it might scare some people, but this is just model runs. But starting from south and moving north, the Carolinas, areas of Virginia, the Euro wants to bring, and this is wind gusts, not sustained wind gusts, wants to bring some 30 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts. Pretty far inland into North Carolina and even Virginia, all the way to Raleigh. But the Outer Banks, it has 60, 70, maybe upwards to an 80-mile-per-hour wind gust on this run. I mean, these are some damaging winds, guys. I mean, equivalent to like a Category 1 hurricane. Even some strong onshore flow, the Georgia, the South Carolina coastline, some gusty winds, a little bit of beach erosion. Got to be careful. Strong winds just off Wilmington. So yeah, I mean, it's a big deal, guys. I just think I think this needs to be talked about more. But you know, this is up the Mid-Atlantic coastline. This is the Tidewater, Delmarva, Jersey Shore, Long Island. I mean, right up against the shoreline, guys. 50, 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible off this run of the Euro. And I mean, look how strong these winds are just offshore. So if even like 75% of this happens, I mean, this is a big deal. Some gusty winds in southern New England and Long Island. I mean, Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod, Nantucket. Depending on how north it gets, this could bring this really strong wind shield all the way up to you guys. So, I mean, that is some damaging winds into the Outer Banks. And then you look at the GFS, it's not as worrisome, say, for the Carolinas, even though it does show kind of a swath, I would say, of strong winds into North Carolina, some 40, almost 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. But for the most part, nothing too crazy on the GFS. It brings the worst of the winds on the GFS further north. For example, I mean, it brings almost what's equivalent to an all-out tropical storm into New York City, Long Island, just a very strong nor'easter. I mean, it wants to bring 50, 60, almost 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts starting from sort of the Tidewater all the way up through the Jersey Shore, the Long Island, and then southern New England. I mean, these are very strong winds, especially just offshore, pushing over 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So this would not be good. So the GFS and the Euro both show bad scenarios, but in different places. It's worse in different areas. But one thing that I'm noticing is there's a central point developing sort of right into here, where both models are really attacking. So, you know, that's something to sort of watch. But, you know, we're not in forecast range from the National Weather Service. So, I mean, we're only through Friday evening, so we can't really look at their stuff, unfortunately. But we'll continue to double down on that, and you know, I might double up on my videos here in over the next couple of days talking about it. But I just think it needs more attention. I don't think it's getting enough attention, and maybe they start to really talk about it a lot more over the next day. But as far as weather right now, we're getting much needed rain across the Northeast. I mean, this is a great sight to see. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I really need to turn on the winter mask with this. I keep forgetting to do it, but I don't think there's any snow in any of this. But maybe way up here there is, but it's not showing. But man, this is much needed rain. Glad you guys are waking up to this morning. Hopefully you're not too annoyed by it, because I mean, you guys need it. But we got freeze watches in this pretty blue color right here. We got freeze warnings in the purple. So you know there's some cold air coming behind this rain. It's that time of the year if you start to see this. But watches as far as I'm all over the place this morning. Storm Prediction Center, outlook, any kind of risk of severe weather. General risk in the light green, but I mean no real risk of severe weather. Can't rule it out though. Excessive rainfall, we'll watch out Arizona, New Mexico, but for the most part, looking all right. The southeast today, what stinks around our neck of the woods, because I live here in central South Carolina, is the chances of rain have seemed to drop. We could get some scattered thunderstorms in central Georgia, maybe even South Carolina up in the Carolinas and Virginia. But it was looking like we were going to get a more widespread event a couple days ago, and it just looks like we're kind of gonna get gypped with the rain. We really need it because we're about to enter a pretty dry period, and it looks like this coastal low is going to miss some people that really need the rain. But I tell you what, one thing I do want to note, and I think this is cool. Listen, if you're sick of the warmth in the Carolinas and areas of Georgia, heck, even Virginia, I want you to look. These are dew points, right? This is starting this morning. Watch how your dew points in the city. If you're wondering, like, why has it been so humid this week? And look at this cold front that sweeps in later tonight. It'll be late this afternoon, this evening for some people. You're going to wake up tomorrow So back to fall-like conditions across a lot of areas from like Birmingham, Atlanta, Columbia. Look at these dew points crashing into the 40s. So one of these just tight gradient cold fronts sweep in overnight. I can't wait to wake up to that tomorrow morning. But rain will head on out today across the Northeast, and cool air will follow. And we're almost to that time of the year where these little streamers embedded in this trough are snow, but not quite there yet. But I wouldn't be surprised some flakes mix in with some of this stuff if you live way up into this area of New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. But the south central U.S. looks pretty quiet. Not a whole lot to speak on for you folks. Some thunderstorms are possible in New Mexico, but I wouldn't expect anything too crazy out of that. The north central U.S., quiet, nothing. The western U.S., I guess we're not going to move here. Yeah, besides just some moisture in New Mexico and Arizona, for the most part, a little bit of moisture in Oregon, a little bit of rain, a little low pressure, big low pressure just spinning around out here, not really wanting to know. It doesn't really know where it wants to go, just hanging out here. Temperatures, cooler air follows behind this rain. In fact, you might have some areas across the Northeast today where the temperatures actually drop throughout the day. 40s, 50s for highs. One last really warm day across the Southeast before a cold front moves in. Cold front's already moved in, or is going to move in throughout the middle of the country. I cannot speak this morning. First video in a while where I just cannot talk. But the western U.S. warming back up, temperatures are moderating. So let me go on and wrap this up before I fumble any more words. But no Bible devotion. I actually have a verse written out. I did it yesterday, but I was up late last night. Actually at a Bible study with some guys at the church, and then getting home till 9, and that's late for me. So we'll get back to that tomorrow and kind of get some consecutive days in a row doing those. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless everyone. Appreciate y'all, and y'all have a wonderful day.